Right, I thought we'd do this because I painted a hydrangea a couple of years ago now, and I thought I can improve on this. And so I do. This is a reference that you've got on the left, and this is what we're going to be approximating something like this on the right by the end of the day.
Oh, I prefer that.
Which what?
I prefer the one you've drawn to the real one.
Well, yeah. Well, that's right. Well, a painting's always going to be better than a photograph, isn't it? So we're not going to laboriously study this and try and recreate it. We're going to stylize it, but there's no splattering in this today. We're just taking it nice and easy. But what we are doing, we're going to be introducing what we learned about negative shapes, because once I've drawn these 4-petaled flowers, you know, that's something we need to look at. What's the nature of the flower? They've all got 4 petals. They've all got this really nice little pinhead circle in the middle as well. But once we've nailed that, I don't know how many of you were there for the blossom lesson on Tuesday in the sketchbook club, but this is a very kind of similar approach. We're going to do these petals. We're going to put a splash of concentrated pigment in the middle. And then we're going to make these pop out by painting around the negative shape of the flower, like we did with the leaves 2 or 3 weeks ago, remember? Right. And that isolates the flower, it throws the background into deep relief and creates a really lovely sense of 3 dimensions. Oh, Sarah's here, hang on. Admit Sarah. Where is she?
Sorry.
Hello, Sarah.
I'm so sorry. There's something wrong with my watch.
Hey, there is, you're right. You need a new one. Anyway, can you see us, Sarah? Are you with us?
Yes, I'm with you. I can see you.
Can you see the picture on the screen of 2 hydrangeas?
I can.
Okay, good. You're just in time then. We're just going over the reference photo on the left and what we're going to turn it into on the right. And we've observed that each of the little flowers has got 4 petals. And I was just saying, once we've got that down, we're going to use those skills about negative shape that we learned a couple of weeks ago to make them pop out and form this 3-dimensional sphere. And then the rest of it, it's just child's play. We know what to do. We know how to do all the rest of it. And one thing I thought I'd have a quick look at, there's the amount of different colours you can get in hydrangeas. So this is just another photograph I found. We don't have to stick to the pink and the blue. You know, I just stuck to a pink here, and this one on the left is just a pure blue. But I think it's quite nice to mix it up a bit. And especially like here, where you get the different hues in the same blue. So bear that in mind when we come to start doing some painting, that we don't have to stick to the same old colours. But having said that, the colours are arbitrary, and you know, we can. Okay.
Did you say, Martin, that it is one that we splash at or not splash?
We're not splashing today. Well, you can if you want, but we're just going to take a deep breath and calm down. We're just going to paint in a traditional manner. We're going to use oh yeah, Sarah, you'll need a pencil, you'll need an eraser, and you'll need something circular to draw around like that. Either a pair of compasses or something about the size of a mug or a jam jar, just to draw the circle.
Yeah.
Right, the first thing we need to smash is how we're going to draw these petals. So grab your pencil, and this is what we're going to do. We're going to start off by drawing that little pinhead circle in the middle. And then we're going to draw a circle around it like that. It doesn't have to be exact. We don't need compasses or anything fancy to do this. Now, these are just going to be guidelines. So when we come to, this is our scrap paper, by the way. We're not doing our finished piece. This is later. This is just our warm-up piece of paper. But try and use the same quality paper that you're going to use for your finished one. You know, if you've got some nice watercolour paper, use the same for your warm-up as you are going to for your finished one. Right. So this is our hydrangea flower. we've got that little pinhead in the middle. We're drawing a circle around the outside. I'm drawing this quite heavily so that you can see it. You don't have to be as heavy as this. Now, when you've got that, draw 2 crosshairs like that. Can you see that? 2 crosshairs across your circle like so. And those are your guidelines for drawing the petals, for drawing the flower. And once you've got that in, each petal is a kind of diamond shape like that. So that's what we're drawing from then on. And we need 4 diamond shaped petals like so. You know, they don't have to be identical. You know, it's an organic thing. It can be slightly odd in shape, as mine is. The first one always is.
Those weren't the coffee night that you're not going to preach at.
And there you have it. Okay, that's how we're going to paint our flowers. Let's do another one. Let's do another one and do it just here. Again, I'm going to draw that little pinhead, and I'm going to draw a circle around it like that.
Okay. That's water.
And then I'm drawing my crosshairs in again like that at a different angle this time. And those are the guides for my petals. You got that? And then once they're down, get those triangular petals in again. Actually, not triangular, no, they're diamond shape. Okay, got the hang of that. Let's do a third one, and this third one, let's just draw it a little closer to these other 2. So again, we start off with that central circle, the pinhead, and then let's get that circular guideline around the outside like that. And this time I'm allowing it to just overlap the other ones. Oops, my little dot in the middle is a bit skewy. Having got that in, get those crosshairs in again. And with the crosshairs in, it's really simple to just put in your diamond shaped petals again. And this time, I'm allowing these petals to go behind the previous one there, see? It's kind of over, this first one's overlapping this last one. Now, I've drawn these with heavy lines so that you can see them. You've drawn them in fine lines. What we're doing now is we need to rub most of this pencil work away so that you're just left with the faintest outline of your petals. You don't really want these graphite lines showing through your paint, so just rub away 95% of the pencil work that you've just done, and you'll be left with just a traced outline of the hydrangea flowers, hopefully, which is more than enough to work to. That's what I've got there. Let's see, I've rubbed away most of the stuff. That's all I'm left with. I could even lose a bit more of that, actually. Right, so are we all about there? Are we all got these faint outlines of these flowers? We've lost most of all the outlines. We've lost all those crosshairs and the scaffolding that we used to draw these flowers. If you've still got marks on your paper, it's all right, it's not the end of the world. Maybe next time when you do it, we're still on the scrapper, by the way. You know, we're not doing the finished thing yet. Next time when you do them, maybe draw them a little bit lighter. So long as you've got those 3 flowers to work to, and that's all you need. That's all you need. Right, let's try throwing some paint at it. So, the colours that I'm using that same colour that I like, that colour that I used for those cherry blossoms, which is this kind of pink magenta-y thing down here. Now, if you don't have a magenta in your paint set, I recommend you use one of your cooler reds, like an alizarin crimson or something like that. And also, we're going to make a little bit of a, if we're going to experiment with some other colours, pull out a blue. I recommend pulling out one of your cooler blues, something down here. I don't think it's critical which blue you do use, so long as it's just a nice pale one to start with.
They're not very easy to get up to either, are they?
Kitchen roll. It's the other vital ingredient we always need. Right, so I made a very dilute puddle of magenta. You know, test it on your scrap piece of paper just to make sure you're in the right place. That's kind of nice. Between a bit of space there. Pale magenta. See, that's nice there. The way they do, the way that blue and pink do lovely things together. Okay, so let me come a bit closer. Let me bring this down a bit. That's better. Now, depending on what type of paper you've got, and to some extent as well what kind of paints you're using, they're all different and they're all going to behave differently. Let's tackle one of these flowers at a time. So, I'm taking my pale magenta, and on the flower that's above the bottom one there, the one that's on the top, I'm just going to start to fill in inside the lines with my pale magenta, pale pink, and I'm leaving that little central pinhole white. That looks nice white, and I'm just laying plenty of water down, and I'm allowing it to just soak into the fibers of the paper. So by the time I start with one petal, by the time I've worked my way around and got to the last petal, the paint started to soak into the fibers of the first petal. You know, I always used to go on about the kind of different levels of wetness and the way the paint behaves differently depending on the level of wetness of the paper. You know, the first level of wetness is shiny wet. That's when you first put the paint on and it's sitting on the top of the paper and it's shiny. It's like a puddle, it's liquid on the surface of the paper. That's shiny wet. The second level is when it started to soak in and it becomes a sheen wet. And it's not so much shiny, but it's still got a sheen to it, which is kind of where that is now. I don't know if you can see it. It's sheeny, but not shiny. And that's when the paint is at its most active and mobile. So now I got my paint from here. So in here, I've got a very, very strong concoction, a very strong mix of heavily pigmented paint. See, look how strong that is compared to the wash. And I'm taking some of that and I'm just spotting it in the center of this flower, in the center of these petals that I just painted. And because that first pink wash has soaked into the fibers of the paper, by dropping in that strong color now, it's now just going to gently bleed out, and over the next 5 minutes, that is going to spread out and create a really nice soft gradient all the way out into that petal. So have a play with that and see what you can achieve. As I say, everybody's going to get slightly different results because we're all going to be using different types of paper, different types of paint. The rooms that we're working in are going to be different temperatures, so it's all going to dry at different rates. So you need to just have a play and work out for yourself what's going to work. Now, while this is still wet, you can carry on manipulating this. You can take a wet brush and dab it off, and you can lift some of this color out. You know, you can reduce the intensity of that pink by pulling out with your brush just as much as you put in. Very often painting with watercolors is as much about taking color out as it is about putting it in. So you see, I'm just lifting that pink off there, and it's making it look three-dimensional. It's making the value around the edges darker than it is in the center, which is a nice thing. It's a nice thing. You don't want just flat color. You want variety of value. You want your image to vibrate and appear three-dimensional. So just pulling out a little bit of color and leaving it on the outside, that's starting to give it form. Now, so see what I mean there? Then look at the way that colour's now bled out into those petals and made a really lovely soft gradient. And also, I can come back into the centre of here and increase the intensity of that pink in the middle by going back to my strong mix here and dabbing in again. And because this paper's still got moisture in it, it's just going to carry on spreading this pigment around and making it lovely and soft. And yeah, I can carry on making that darker and darker and darker. See, by putting that second load in there, it's still leaching out and creating a lovely soft gradient. If I want to, I can maybe try to put in some little streaks like this. I can pull that pigment out and create gentle, soft veins like so. And you can make some incredibly realistic pictures by just utilizing what you know about edge control, whether or not your edges are sharp, whether or not your edges are soft. You see, I've just drawn out some of that stronger pigment, and because it's still wet, that'll continue to soften down. And I've managed to get right up to that pencil line so that you can't actually see the pencil on the edge there. Come on, camera, focus. See, I've almost lost my pencil line there. It's barely discernible. All right. So let's practice on the others as well. Let's do the same on the others. I am going to experiment with a slightly different color on this second one. I'm going to go in with my pink mix, but I'm also going to mix it with my blue mix, just to see what happens. So, the nice thing about a good quality watercolour paper is once you've got it wet, you can play with it for, you know, well, you can play with it for as long as it stays wet. You can keep putting colour and water on and taking it off for as long as you like, just as long as you can keep these fibres wet. You can do all kinds of things. I mean, depending on the nature of the paint and the pigment, you can put loads of colour on, you can take loads of colour off, you can take it back to white paper with some certain pigments, not all. A lot of the pigments you use will be staining pigments, and they'll stain the fibres of the paper, but some are what they call granulating pigments, and you can see the granules of pigment in the paint, and you can remove them, you can lift them off, so long as the paper's wet. Once the paper's dry, then that generally locks in the paint, and that's kind of game over. But while it's wet, you can carry on adding and removing and creating different effects. So I've done my pink bloom there. I want to go in with a bit of blue. I'm just going to touch some blue in and see where it takes it. Just going to mix that blue in to give it a bit of a, turn it slightly mauve. Pulling out a bit of moisture there because it's got a bit wet, because I added quite a blue wash to an existing wash. It's made it a bit watery, so I'm just sucking up a bit of paint there. But that's made a really nice hydrangea pinky bluey thing going on there. Right, while this is wet, I'm coming in with my strong central pigment in the middle. So to build up that central wash. I took a little bit too much water out, so I'm going to put a bit back in. And a lot of the time, I'm not using brush strokes, I'm just dotting either liquid paint or clear water in. I'm just dabbing it down, you know, they call it charging in. I'm not really using any paint strokes, I'm just touching it. And look, just putting in that water there, that's made some, that is going out in like veins and rivulets. That'll soften down in the next 5 minutes as it soaks into the paper and create a lovely effect. So while it's still wet around the edges as well, I'm just touching a little bit of that stronger pigment around the edges, and that's doing some interesting things around there. Look, just a little bit of colour around the edges. And it's still wet enough to be able to bleed in and soften up. This first flower now, he's probably dried right down. So if I wanted to, and I don't particularly, but now, if I started to paint on this, I'd get hard edges. I'd be able to paint detail. I'd be able to paint veins and all kinds of leaf damage or insect damage or whatever onto there now if I was doing a botanical study. But I want it to stay soft, and I want it to be smooth and flowing. going to try this last one. Now, hopefully, because this is now dry, I know that I can come up against this petal with paint in here and it won't bleed. If I'd have tried to have painted this while it was still, the top one was still wet, that there would have bled into the previous one, but now that it's dry, I know that it won't, so I'm all right. So try, if you're still using one colour, try introducing, if you're still using a pink, try pulling out a little bit of a blue and just dropping it in here and there. Just to shift the hue slightly. Because this is nice, you see that's going slightly blue. I like that. I like that. I think it's going to make your painting more interesting if you've got more than one colour going on. But as I said, now this is quite wet. What I don't want to do now is go in with another wet blue. Well, I can actually. If I go in with another this blue wash and just touch it in places like it's going to make too much water. It's going to be too damp on there. So what I will need to do, it's quite nice to maybe go around the edges with the blue, but I will need to drink a bit of that off. So I'd then clean my brush, dry it off, and then just start to hoover up some of that moisture in the centre, because it's nice to leave the central part of it. It's nice to make the central portions of these petals lighter than the edges. It gives them a bit of form. And they're very pale petals. You don't want to go too dark, so it's good to pull off some pigment. So just wash your brush, dry it off on your kitchen roll, and just touch it in, and it'll pull up a lot of pigment. But of course, then don't forget to darken off that centre. Just drop in some of that pigment from your strong stuff, and let that gradually begin to bleed out. Around this, is it starting to make sense?
Yeah.
If you can still go in and create those lovely blooms and experiment with the different types of backgrounds and things. I'm just going in with some clean water now. That is going to, it's dried off. It's too late to work with that. But if I wanted to create some interesting textures and patterns in this one, for example, I could just still charge in with clean water and create interest by just touching it. So there's 3 different approaches there. That's the first one. Look how beautifully soft and smooth that's now become. Those little striations I put in when it was dry, so they've remained hard-edged. This one I've worked just wet in wet, so everything's smoothed out and done its nice thing. And I put a bit of blue in there as well. That's got a nice colour. Here, I've just dropped in blue, and I've also dropped in, I've just been charging in with bits of water like this, bits of clear water. And it's disrupted the pigment and made it maybe more interesting, I don't know. That'll carry on softening down for the next 5 or 10 minutes as it all bleeds and leaches around inside the paper fibres. But there, you know, that's the way to do those petals. Build up a collection of those, they're gonna look great. What we need to learn to do now is to do petals at an angle. So, grab your pencil and draw again your central pinhead thing, but this time, instead of drawing a circle around it, draw an ellipse. So we're drawing a flat circle. Okay, but still put in your crosshairs like this. And now, when you draw your diamond petals, the ones to the side there are squashed flat. These are now seen in perspective. The one at the front is slightly bigger than the one at the back. Okay. Easy, eh?
Mm.
Let's try another one at a slightly different angle. Nice ellipse. Crosshairs again. See, once you've got these guidelines in, it makes it so much easier. Petal at the back. Diamond shaped petal at the side. Slightly larger shape at the front. Flatten one at the side. And again, once you've got that down, rub it right back. So 90% of the pencil is gone. And you're just left with an outline to work to. And let's paint them. Has everybody invested in some nice quality watercolour paper? Because I think you'd probably be struggling if you were trying to do this on ordinary cartridge paper. You wouldn't get this, you don't have this ability to manipulate soft edges like you do with watercolour paper if you're just on ordinary paper. So if you are working on ordinary cartridge paper and you think, oh God, I can't do this, it's probably why you can't do it. It's because the paper's not allowing you. The nicest paper to do this on is cotton-based paper. You get two types of watercolor paper. Some's cotton and some is cellulose, which is wood pulp. And the cotton is more forgiving. Cotton gives you a longer working time. Like cotton, like Archer's paper. I think that's the nicest one you can find. So if you're feeling flush, treat yourself to some Archer's paper. So again, yeah. It's flat petal like that. Bit of blue maybe.
Yeah, I think I've got cheap paper.
Have you? Mandy?
I know.
Come on. You're worth it.
I can't resist to buy one, get one free.
I'm practicing on rubbish paper.
Why, Sarah?
I know, but I've got the good stuff.
Well, didn't I? Were you not here when I said don't practice on rubbish paper? Practice on the same paper that you're going to do your finished
I
one.
was here. It's watercolour paper, but I didn't realise that it was going to be so different. And I think I really see the difference when I.
It makes a huge difference. So when you come to do it now on your proper paper, you'll be starting all over again.
No.
You'll be
Crazy practicing on my best paper.
Yeah.
Teaching myself.
You've got to practice on your good stuff.
Yeah.
False economy not to.
Yeah. It's true.
It's that what I was going to say.
All by error, wasn't it, really?
We're a stingy, frugal generation, Sarah. That's the problem.
Right.
Well, I am. You're far younger than
No, I'm not. Have you had your jab, by the way?
I have, yeah.
The giveaway.
Very good.
Yeah.
Oh, Mandy, you haven't yours yesterday, but
Yeah, yeah, I did. I feel fine.
Oh, you're lucky. Good.
Yeah, I had the AstraZeneca one, the Oxford one. Yeah,
Yeah, I had that one. Monkey glands.
monkey.
Yeah.
Don't start.
It's
No,
a
they
cheap
are.
one.
I've been
Yeah,
on
yeah.
that day.
Yeah.
It's a cheap one.
Yeah.
is it?
Yeah.
Wow.
All the other ones are
Yeah.
the good kind of the Pfizer ones and the what's the other one, the Moderna ones. That's modern technology. That's RNA technology. We've just got old monkey glands squirted.
Fine.
Only £3.
RNA, don't start.
Yeah, don't start.
I've done my vaccinator training. It's RNA. Come on now.
What is the AstraZeneca is?
Yeah. Isn't it? Yeah, it is.
Well, it's not the same technology as the other two. The smart new technology where they've modified the RNA. They've just taken an old bit of cold virus out of a monkey.
That's
Nuclear.
virus. It's the
Yeah,
actual
but
virus.
the Moderna's only one jab, isn't it? That's right.
Yeah, Moderna.
You don't have two with the Moderna.
Or the other one, the J one.
I don't know.
Anyway, J.
We're experts now, aren't we?
Who knows?
think-
We all know everything now.
Well, a little knowledge is a dangerous thing, isn't it? It's
It is.
little communities like this that start to cause trouble.
We're lucky to get it.
We are lucky. I
are.
can't tell you how excited I am that I'm going to have
We
my.
could be in Belgium, couldn't we?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I know. It's going to be 2023 by the time they've rolled theirs.
Yeah, 2023, September.
Yeah, there are only 7 million of them.
They're very near though.
Don't go to Belgium.
Yes, that's true.
Right. Nice. These are looking good. What you can do, but let's not probably go there. As you can put a little cup underneath this front edge here like that to make it even more three-dimensional and more impressive, but I don't think we need to do that really.
The same colour, but
well, I just put it in darker, and then it depends whether it's whether that back is facing the light or whether it's away from the light. But can you see that? I just put it down and I kind of sucked it up again, and just the actual fact that I've made that visual definition makes it look a little bit, it's suddenly given it a bit of depth, hasn't it there?
Well, we're going to be doing the negative space anyway, aren't we?
We are.
yeah.
Martin, if I show you this paper I've got.
Yeah. I can see it. I can't read it though, Mandy. What does it say?
So it's art texture, cold press, acid free, glue bound, ideal for watercolor techniques and mixed media.
Yeah, it should be all right. It looks like a bit of a hobbycraft product.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's the problem with it, Mandy?
I don't know. I just don't see the colours. Just not very good.
The colours? I can't really see that.
They're not running very well.
I can't really see that. It's bleached out. Hold it a bit closer. Yeah. But they look okay. Maybe you need to let it soak in a bit more, or what happens if you put a big old puddle on it? Does it sit on the top, or does it soak in? Or?
It sits on the top. Yeah. I'll keep playing with it.
Well, you know what? You could be able to get something out of it. You just have to learn to, say, work to the environment.
Yeah, exactly.
But treat yourself to some of this. This is what you want. This is really
arches.
nice.
Okay.
Arches, I think they pronounce it arche. It's French. Arche. So if you go in and ask for a pad of arche, you'll look like you know what you're talking about. Well, no, this is lovely. You can get away with murder. Well, you can't, but it just allows you a bit more time to practice. But you shouldn't get obsessed about materials. You should be able to do something with anything.
Yeah, cool.
Right. If we've smashed that and we've got our heads around this and we know what our materials are capable of, and we know how to do a petal front on, and we know how to do it obliquely from an angle like that, let's go to the main event. I know. Get the proper bit of paper. Somebody's released the hounds.
I must get a nasty cough.
Right. Get your circle drawing implement and plop it down kind of 3/4 of the way up. This is going to be your bloom, and then just draw around it.
So you've gone off centre,
No, I haven't.
That's
it's just that my
deliberate,
camera's in a different position. If I come down to about there, look, I'm pretty centre.
Yeah.
There's just carnage somewhere. Who's that? Who is that?
I think it's Archie and Wilf.
Is that you, Karen?
No, it's Mandy. I recognise her dogs.
Oh, Mandy's disappeared from view. She's either going to calm her down or she's been eaten.
Yes.
Right. So, got a circle. Doesn't have to be bang on. This circle has a stem. We're going to rub a lot of this out as we did earlier on. And what I'm going to do around this circle is just draw about another 5-10 centimeters out, another circle, just slightly. This is going to be my maximum perimeter circle there. Here, I'm going to start to do my, in this inner circle, I'm going to do some face-on petals. Right, are we there? So there, from there, let's start to do our big face-on ones. I'm going to do a central pinhead there. And remember what we did right at the beginning? A central pinhead and a circle around it. And you're doing these, or we're all doing these not too heavily because we're going to rub a lot of this out, remember? Once that's there, we're going to put a couple of crosshairs on. Once we've done that, it's Mandy. This is really nice. I can see who's making that barking noise because the little, the little microphone's got a red mark dancing up and down. So if you're making a noise, I'm going to mute you. So I've
Mandy,
muted...
stop barking.
So I've muted you, Mandy. No offence, but when you want to come back in and the dogs have calmed down, unmute yourself, please. Right. Well, got the crosshairs in. Diamond-shaped petals. Off we go.
How many flowers have you got?
How many flowers will I have, do you mean?
Oh, how many have you done already? I can't see.
Here?
Yeah.
I'm on my first one.
Oh, right. Okay.
I've done this big kind of lollipop shape.
Yeah.
Karen, you got that?
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm just starting to put these in now.
Yeah, I've got... Yes.
So I'll probably put maybe 3 in this central bit here. Now keep them quite big. And then these oblique ones here, these viewed from the side, we're going to put those kind of around the edge. We're going to mix them up and put them around the edge. So it's going to look 3-dimensional.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got an oblique one already.
Oh, have you? Okay.
At the top.
Well, that's all right. Yeah, don't put it in. Keep the oblique ones right around the outside.
Yeah. And they can cross over, can't they?
Ideally, yes, please. Yeah, no, that's even. You want them to overlap.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've got that guy in there. I'm going to put another one. Where should I put the one? Maybe a little bit higher. So yeah, I'm going to put this over here, and I'm going to make this one overlap this one. So the circle that this one is inside. Yeah, it doesn't matter if these circles are slightly elliptical either. It just means that they're not face on. They'll just be turning away, which is ideal. You know, you don't really want 3 bang facing straight in your face. It's nice if they're turning away. And so long as you get those crosshairs in, it'll all work. And it's preferable if they do overlap, because when you have overlap, it creates depth. It increases the illusion of 3-dimensionality. Nice. Okay.
Oh, a bit small.
Doesn't matter too much if they're different sizes like that. And you got your central portion in there. Start to put the oblique ones in, but try and stay within your exterior perimeter.
Oh, the exterior one.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, yeah, I probably over confused this by putting 2 perimeter lines. But the inner one was the one that you wanted to put your kind of pretty full face on ones on. And then as you get out towards the exterior, then you want to stay, that's where your really oblique ones need to be, the ones that are almost flat. And I think when you do get right to the edge, if we look at what I did here, I just did some, I mean, I did this some time ago. This is before I did some more sophisticated oblique views of these flowers. And I just did like floating petals. And I think that's all right. I think they work quite nicely. So when you get right to the edge, just little lozenge-shaped petals, free floating, I think it'll look quite nice. But until you get to the edge, keep using our template for petals. It works really well. Sometimes actually it's easier to draw the big exterior circle first and then put that pinhead in the middle. Once you get the hang of this, you can start to get your toe down and really toss him out. You know, it looks nicer the fuller this bloom is. So once you've got the hang of it, put them in quickly. Circle, center, heart-shaped petals. And hopefully we should be slowly arriving at something like this. As I go right to the extreme here, I'm just putting a few free floating petal shapes in like that. As I'm getting right to the very edge. Don't worry if you've got big gaps in the middle like this as well. We're going to fill these with those negative shapes later on. So don't worry. Don't feel as though you've got to try and squeeze another float in there. It's also a good idea to keep your pencil sharp as well. If you're drawing with a kind of blunt pencil, when you come to rub out your guidelines, you'll tend to rub out all your lines because it's the sharper pencil marks that'll stay when you rub out a lot of your scaffolding lines. The goal is to have like a ghostly image of just your outlines of your petals that you're going to be able to paint in. You're going to lose all these crosshairs, you're going to lose the big peripheral thing around the outside. You're just going to keep the guidelines. Right, so I've got in as much pencil work as I want, and I've rubbed it back. So I've now just got the faintest outline of my hydrangea. It was rather nice, actually. So I am going to scoot on, and I'm going to start painting this just in the same way that we did these. But I'm going to press on because I'm going to scoot through this because I want to get to the point where I can show you how to put some of this negative space in as well. So don't try and keep up with me if it means you're going to kind of rush it and bodge it. You just carry on at your own pace. We've done the hard work. We've done the preliminary studies. We know how to do all this. So now it really is simply a case of employing this knowledge into this finished picture, and we'll build up this wonderful globe of petals using the scaffolding that we've already created here. So as I say, don't try and keep up with me. Otherwise, you know, you'll be rushing it. Just enjoy it. But I'm going to paint briskly here so that I can show you how to do the final pieces. One thing I will say though, if you've got petals that are overlapping other petals, paint the top ones first. Secret to changing the colour of hydrangeas. He once told me that if you put tea bags around a hydrangea, it'll turn them blue. Is that true?
It's iron.
Is that what it is?
People used to say put a razor blade.
Say that again.
People used to say put razor blades underneath them.
Oh, did they?
And when they were
blue.
The pH of the soil, whether it's acid or alkaline.
Oh.
Yeah. So is it, I think pink is their natural colour, isn't it? And you have to change it to blue. I suppose again it was going to be the pH, isn't it?
Yeah, and you do that with razor blades or tea bags.
Oh, tea bags, yeah.
Does that mean that there's iron in tea bags?
No, tannic acid.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. If any of you are into botanical illustration, which is a very precise and beautiful way of watercolouring, then I suggest you go and look at the work of, now what's his name? Ewan somebody. Now, not Ewan McGregor, Ewan. Oh, I started this conversation, I can't remember his name now. There was a guy who used to be a folk singer back in the early 60s called
Ewan McCall.
Ewan, is it Ewan McCall?
Yeah.
Ewan McCall.
I think so.
Anyway, yeah, he used to present a program called Hoot Nanny. Was that him?
Oh, no.
Well, I don't think it was Ewan McCall.
No, it wasn't Ewan. No, it wasn't Ewan then. It's the one who does the Hoot Nanny now.
Nah, I'm going to come to that. It's not Jules Holland.
I was going to say that's Jules Holland, isn't it?
Mm.
Well, this guy called Ewan, was it Ewan McCall? I'm going to have to Google him in a second.
I thought he was a folk singer.
He
Maybe.
is. Yeah, he is. But he stopped being a folk singer and he started doing botanical illustrations.
He was Streets of London.
No, that's not him. I gotta get my facts before I start this.
It is a secret. It goes with being able to get a vaccination.
Oh, is that what it is? I'm going to put this conversation on pause. I'm going to finish this flower and then I'm going to
Look him up.
I'm going to look him up and I'm going to come back to this because this is a really fascinating conversation. I promise.
Did anybody watch? Has anybody been watching the Rob? I can't remember his surname.
Have you had the vaccination?
Yeah.
Rob Beckett and Ramesh Rangadeh. What's that? They've been sort of trying to infiltrate certain industries. Anyway,
Yeah.
have you not been watching it?
No.
Oh well, he was doing the London Fashion Week last week. When I saw it on, I think it's a repeat when I saw it. But Rob Beckett said, "Now there's a quote," and then he stopped and he said, "And I can't remember what it is." And then the other ones, and then Ron said, why do you start a sentence when you know you can't finish it?
Yeah.
He said, because when I started it, I thought I knew what the quote was.
Yeah. I know the feeling. Anyway, just to keep you all excited, this guy, Ewan somebody who used to present an old folk program back in the BBC in the early 60s, he put down his guitar and he started doing this botanical illustration, and he is the most phenomenal painter, and he does the best botanical illustrations ever. He paints on vellum.
On vellum?
Yeah, vellum. It's is it deer skin or it's it just gives you, it's a really fine surface that glows beautifully. It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
And you look at these pictures and they are more realistic than photographs. They're beautiful.
Because they capture something else.
Well, I don't know how he does it, but I'm going to finish this flower, and then I'm going to disappear and I'm going to Google him and I'm going to try and show you some examples. So here, I'm into my flower. I'm using what I've learned here. I'm putting little bits of blue in these petals just to give it that lovely kind of lilac tint. And I'm picking up, while this is still wet, I'm going into these petals and I'm just wiping away some of the pigment and it's making these central bits paler than the outside bits. And it's creating form. It's really nice. Right, where's my keyboard? I'm going to look this dude up. Do this without losing you. Ewan McCall. Who said Ewan McCall? They were right.
I did.
Well done. All right. Oh, were you right? And he did sing Dirty Old Town.
Streets of London. Yeah.
Oh, and he's Kirsty McCall's dad.
Yeah.
But you know what? It's not him I'm talking about.
Excellent. Wasn't here at all.
Dirty Old Town and Streets of London are different songs.
Yeah. No.
Mountain of all knowledge, Mark.
You know who it is? It's a guy called Rory McEwen.
Oh yeah.
Never heard of him.
Okay. Well, he.
Well, now we'll look him up.
Well, I'm just looking at him now. He used to present this, and the weird thing is, his daughter. He used to present this program called Hootenanny in the '60s, and his daughter, weirdly enough, married Jules Holland.
Oh, which is where he got the name of the program from.
Well, no, it's pure coincidence.
What's that?
Who knew?
I know.
It is a bit spooky that the program's got the same name, though, isn't it?
Yeah. Yep.
Must be something in that.
Let's have a quick look at this. I've just Googled him and just brought up some of his things. This is the kind of stuff that he used to paint.
Gosh.
It's outrageously beautiful.
Say that onion is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm going to be trying that anytime soon.
Yeah, but look at that leaf there. That is painted on vellum. It's outrageous. Look at that. That's a painting. So that's the benchmark we're setting in this class.
Well, you might as well have the link.
Look at that. It's beautiful. Well, no, you can
You could almost
you can aspire to that. You can aspire to that. But if you really like this kind of stuff, have a look at that. It's beautiful. Anyway, I digress. Let's get back to.
I think I've got.
I will write him down there. He was Rory McEwen.
Yeah. Suitably inspired. Let's get back to this. And his paint, he said he sometimes used to spend months on one painting, which is, I think it had something to do with mental illness. I think he did go a bit nuts in the end, but you would, wouldn't you?
Is this a good time to say how much better the good paper is?
Are you on the good paper, Sarah?
Of course.
Okay.
Even if that wasn't a surprise to anybody, the difference is unbelievable. In fact,
Are you on your arse now?
I'm on my arse. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's lovely, isn't it?
It's just so much more forgiving. The other paper, which was, I think, W.H. Smith watercolour
Yeah.
from 1983, was all sort of just went into a blob, basically.
Yeah.
There was no subtlety to it at all.
No. Oh, it's arse now. Now you're on the arse. You can play with it for little.
Yeah.
You can really kind of have a bit of a party on it, can't you?
Well, it's lifting out as much as anything.
Yeah.
Do that.
Yeah.
I haven't been able to do that on the cheap stuff.
No.
Once you've got arse envy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you've got all the gear, haven't you now, Sarah? You've got your nice brushes.
Yeah, but none of the talent.
You've got your arse. No, it's just a matter of time now.
Yeah, that's right. We're about 20 years.
Yes. No, it's kind of more fun when you've got nice stuff to play with as well, isn't it?
Well, as you say, I like your expression, more forgiving. I think that's exactly what it is. It allows you to make those mistakes.
Yeah.
And then to, as you know, when you're saying, "Oh, lift that off and do that," well, you can't do that so easily.
Yeah.
Cheap stuff.
It's true. And I think when you do stuff like this as well, it's nice if you've got a good brush that comes to a decent point, so you can get into all the little nooks and crannies. If you've got a, like you say, a crummy old W.H. Smith brush, got a bit of a blunt end, you're kind of limiting your.
Do they still exist, W.H. Smith?
I don't know.
Yeah. I was in there the other day.
Gosh, who knew?
It's only a matter of time, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's true.
This is very therapeutic, isn't it?
It is. It's lovely, isn't it?
It is, and it is nice to have other people around to do it, because you know you've got to have such a lot of willpower to sit and carry on doing it yourself.
True. True.
It's the sort of thing you can do and have a chat at the same time.
It is, isn't it?
Really nice.
Mm.
I don't know about you, but I'm starved of social interaction.
Yes.
Absolutely starved of it.
Well, Mandy had to put up with me chattering 20 to the dozen to on Monday.
Yeah.
Didn't you, Mandy? Where are
You know,
you?
what is that when you were allowed to sit on a bench and have a picnic or a cup of coffee?
Yeah, she's in my bubble. Because I live on my own and I've got to have someone I need to
Yeah.
speak to. We actually went for a walk on St Catherine's Hill, but I hadn't finished talking then, so we had to come back for a coffee.
Have you got a gale blowing where you are?
Yeah, well, actually, one of my fence panels has come down.
Terrible.
Where are you? You're farmer, is there?
Me, Faversham, Kent.
Faversham.
Gosh.
Is it windy there? Is that what you're saying?
Oh God, yeah, incredibly.
I always have funny dreams when it's really windy because it's disturbing, isn't it?
Are you coming to grips with your paper, Mandy? Have you got it under control?
Not really, but yeah, it is what it is, I guess.
Well,
Yeah.
you probably won't finish this today, but it'd be nice. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get these front fellas in, and then I'm going to show you all the bits that you need to know, and then you can maybe finish it at your own time, because it's quite a complex little project, this, but it's so worth it in the end because it looks really striking.
You could always do a bit of it next week, or do you rather have a?
I think it'd be nice to get this, smash this, and let's do something else next week.
Yeah, I would rather.
Because there's a bit of repetition in this, which is a nice thing to do if you've, if it's raining and it's wet and windy, whatever. It's always nice to learn something. I'll tell you what I've missed as well is just looking at stuff. I miss galleries, and I miss looking at pictures and galleries. I really miss. I just found myself staring at kind of cards in a card shop, thinking, I need more visual stimulation.
Have you ever looked in the Southampton gallery?
That is one place that's been on my to-go list for a long time. Is
It's
it good?
really, because it's near. Because we're near Ringwood, and there's quite a lot in there.
No, I've seen it online, and I thought, why haven't I been to that? And I always intend to go if I'm going to IKEA or whatever. I think, I'll just nip into the.
We'll do it. And when it's open, they've got, you can get coffee in there and whatnot, so you can make a bit of time at it.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Oh, I can't wait. Can't wait.
So it saves you having to go to London anyway.
Yeah.
I want to go to the Manchester to see Grace and Perry's.
His kind of television exhibition.
Yeah. I'd like to go there.
You watching the new one? It's amazing. He's great, isn't he?
I love him. Yeah.
Never been to.
He's lovely.
I found his program was really quite sort of helpful early on.
What you mean psychologically?
Yes, yeah. Him and his wife just puttering around in their slippers and having and then what you watch in the background, what she's making.
Yeah.
I saw she was making a lovely pottery cat at one point, and I thought, when I get back to pottery, I'm going to make one of those.
Are you still in your studio though, Jenny? You can still potter around with your glass, can't you?
I do. I go up and down. Yes, I do that. I do. But it's a little bit cold, but I've got a heater. Yes, it's fine.
Yeah.
I do that. I've made a few things. But it takes up quite a lot of room when you've made it, more so than this, which you can put in a bag.
Janet runs. She's what do you call yourself? You're a glass artist.
Well, you'd have to say that. Yeah, I suppose that's what it would be. Yeah. So and I do some stained glass, but also been doing some fused glass and other things. And I do some little courses if anyone wants to do it for starters.
Yeah.
In Ringwood when it gets going again.
When do you plan on getting going again, Jen, do you think?
Well, I don't know. When can people meet up? I've got a friend who, young friend, daughter-in-law's friend. She comes on a Tuesday morning, and she comes and just does stuff. And she just uses my kiln. And but yes, so I think we're going to start. When can you do that? When can you start making in gardens?
It depends on
Meeting in gardens from the end of March.
Well, I think that's what we're going to do. We're going to call it a garden and open the door.
Yeah, call it a garden.
Call it a garden.
Yeah.
And sit there with the doors open.
Yeah.
So yes, from then really.
And I don't know. You could almost call it education as well, couldn't you? Really, it's almost like school.
Oh, does that make a difference?
Well, it's all a little bit of a grey area, because I know my classes down in Ringwood, I was looking in I had a look at the Conservative Club just across the road from Lums, because they were serving meals, and apparently when we couldn't do the classes at Lums, we possibly could have done them in the Conservative Club if you had a drink at the same time. So there's always a little bit of a way around it somehow.
Yes.
And I think there are different rules about business meetings.
Yeah.
So
Are there?
that's effectively business. Yeah, business meetings have been fine to go ahead.
Really? I never knew that, Sarah.
With masks and distancing and everything.
Yeah.
So you can have as many people as you like in a room if you call it a business. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
If it's a business meeting, I think it can be up to 30.
And what's the definition of a business meeting?
Well, there you go. But the thing is, would we, I think none of us, until we started to have vaccinations, would have wanted to do that.
No.
Because it's risky, isn't it?
There's always an element of risk, but you've got to weigh it up, haven't you?
Yeah. I think once people have had their vaccinations, the risk of transmission is substantially reduced. So,
well, what I understood was that there's equal amount of transmission, but if you get it, you won't have the severity of symptoms.
Yeah.
Okay, so, but I thought they did find that it has reduced transmission.
Well, I think that's probably new news, if it is true.
They're learning all the time, aren't they? That's
yeah.
The more they vaccinate, the more they learn. Pouring here.
Is it?
Absolutely pouring.
Oh, that's a shame. And you're over in the east, so you've got what we had yesterday, probably.
We had rain yesterday. And
it's very windy here, but well, actually it's not as bad as it was, and it's dry.
Yeah.
Do any hydrangeas have 5 petals?
I'm the wrong person to ask. I haven't got a clue.
Probably just the lucky ones.
Well, I've got a lucky one then.
I see. You've invented one, have you?
Yes.
Genetically modified.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like finding a 4-leaf clover, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it's lucky.
Oh my goodness me. Can you hear it?
Oh no.
The rain, no.
Your rain.
Oh, it's torrential.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, don't worry. I much prefer to be sitting in here.
Well, yeah, it's perfect painting weather, isn't it?
Perfect painting weather.
Just a clearing up shower.
Yeah. I read somewhere that we're going to have like a heat wave in March, but there's any sign of it so far.
No.
They always say that, don't they? It's going to be the hottest. Yes.
It sells newspapers, doesn't it?
In the suicide rate down a bit.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be like it was hot like it was last year, though.
No.
I've heard that.
Still, that made everything so much better last year, didn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Yes. We would have really struggled last year, I think, if it hadn't been so.
It seems so long ago, doesn't it?
Yeah. I've been keeping a diary just over lockdown, and it's fascinating to look back now because I'm doubling up. Obviously, we were starting. We were starting to have fears and concerns. I travelled to London a few days before this time last year to go to the Wow Women's Conference.
Oh yeah.
And I was nervous about should we be wearing masks? And I wrote it down, should be wearing masks, and I'm not going to hug anybody I see.
Yeah.
And then I had friends saying, "Oh, don't be ridiculous, you're being."
I know.
And it's just funny how we've moved on so much. That was then.
When it started, I saved all the newspaper cuttings from the Telegraph and the Guardian, and I made myself some posters and cut all the cuttings out and assembled it together. And then on the front, I put Strange Times in bold print, painted it, and sold them for a woman's charity for domestic.
Oh.
And I raised £1,000.
Hey, good on you, Mandy.
Yeah, but when I did them, I did a Love in Lockdown and a Strange Times. I actually thought it was just, for that couple of months.
Didn't we all?
Yeah,
I
my
know.
friends and people that bought them said they hung them in their downstairs loo. It was like something that you would probably look at and think, crikey, that was a funny few months. But yeah, they'd still be very relevant now.
Little did we know.
Little
Yeah.
did we know. Right. Meanwhile, back at the painting class,
Wow.
I've got to this stage here. I don't know, you're probably happily painting away. But what I'm going to do now, these things in the middle here are dry. So I'm going to start blocking in some of this negative space in between these flowers. I'm running a bit of a risk as I get towards the edge because these along the edge are a bit wetter. And obviously if I touch the wet ones with my new negative space darker pigment, it's going to bleed in. And I'm going to get in a pickle. I'm going to have a bash anyway. And what we're doing is we're going to build up, we're going to glaze several layers in these white spaces in between these petals. So I'm going to start off with a dark tone, pretty similar to the one that I've got in the center of my petals here. So on my
What do you darken it with?
well, I'm just making this one stronger.
Stronger.
It's not, it's this color, but it's a strong version. See, kind of like that. If I wanted to darken it, which is what I want to do when I come to do a secondary glaze over the top of it, I'll add its complementary color.
What are you doing, Martin?
I'm painting the negative space around these flowers now, John. Sorry, Mike. With a dark, strong pigment of the same. So what I am in effect painting are the shaded parts of this plant, which are hidden from the light, behind these petals which are on the outside and are facing the light.
And it doesn't matter if you've got quite a lot of space, does it, Martin?
No, no. Well, I've got quite a lot of space here.
Yeah, mine's a bit like that.
Yeah. And every now and then,
because I don't want this to be solid. There are shafts of light just breaking through. So what we're doing really is we're painting the interior structure of this hydrangea head that you can see through the gaps. Where I've got a lot of white space, see I'm leaving these little bits of white showing through. I'm trying to make these shapes that I'm painting now, these negative shapes, I'm just making them petal shaped. They're slightly curved, and every now and then they're kind of vague diamond shapes. They're vaguely the same shape as the petals, because that's kind of what they are. They're the backs of the distant petals on the other side of this ball. So the shapes that I'm painting are in keeping with these petals. What I need to do as well is I need to let this dry, because this is only the first glaze. I'm going to glaze another layer on top of this that's going to knock it back even further, and the darker layer is going to look deeper than this layer, but I need to do that when it's dry. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get this dry in time. I might have to get the old hairdryer out on this. Or the heat gun. Do you remember the heat gun? I used to take it into my classes. I got this, it's a paint stripper. I have in fact set somebody's painting on fire before now. With my paint.
I like that.
Yeah.
Is anybody's hair on fire in your mouth?
Not yet. No, you don't know.
Stop thinking about that.
It was a bit of a health and safety issue. Yeah, I'm going to break out my heat gun. Be back in a minute. Find it. Come on. Actually, while that is finishing off, let's get some, I'm going to put a stem in. I get, obviously, we've got a green stem going on down here. Let me show you what I did before. That one. This is just a loose stem. These leaves are actually going in the wrong direction. I think they're pointing up, and I think they should be pointing down. If we look at these, for example, you see leaves like this, they're facing downwards. That one there, clearly, that one there, they're all kind of facing downwards. I've kind of got them facing upwards, and that's kind of wrong.
And they should be very big as well, shouldn't they? Quite big.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I don't know if I don't know. They're not massive. You don't want it to overpower. Yeah,
Well,
but
they're
mine are far too small. You're right.
About half the size of a head.
Yeah. So I'm going to have a bash at that. Let me do that while that's just drying. Oh, I'm just going to get out of this. While it's just coming out, while that's just drying off, let's get some green going. So I'm going to mix up a couple of greens. Let's see what I got here. What's left over? Actually, I'll tell you what I'm going to do before I do anything. I'm just going to change my water. I've got a very pink jar of water. I don't want to try and make a nice green out of pink water. I'll be back in a second. So, what I don't want is to just make two leaf shapes and a stem shape out of one single green. So I'm mixing up a couple of greens. I'm being lazy. I could use blues and yellows, but time is of the essence here. So I'm just going to mix up a couple of greens that I've already got here. Now with stems or with any foliage, it's always a good idea to start off kind of up the yellow end. I've got a green gold here, which is quite a nice yellowy green. But your first colour, especially if you're working on some nice paper that's going to drink in the pigment and it's going to allow you to charge in with more colour, it's a nice idea to just start off with a yellow, because obviously yellow is the primary colour which underpins green, which is a secondary colour. You know, yellow's the main ingredient of green. There's only really a hint of blue in a green. It's mostly yellow. So I'm just going to get this stem in here. Come down there. And I'm throwing a lot of liquid in there because I want to play with this a little bit, and I'm going to make it soak in a lot more colour. And it's also important to get, I want the top of this stem to be in shade as well. This big ball of flowers is casting a shadow on this stem. So you can see already now I've made that darker. It looks as though it's underneath this bloom, which is good, which is what I want. And I'm just dropping in other bits of colour, picking bits out if I'm finding if it's a bit dark, lifting it up, putting it down, and so on and so forth. But I'm getting various greens in here because I don't want it to be just one monotonous colour. Now the leaves are they've got serrated edges, haven't they? Let's have a look. Quick look at that. There's slight serration on there. So yeah, just as kind of big, quite dark green serrated leaves. And I'm achieving that by using the point of my brush like this. Just clock this before you carry on. So I'm taking up a nice rich green and I'm creating the serrated edge with the tip of my brush like this. I'm just going to go in like that. And I'm using that point of the brush there to create that serration. It's probably a bit small, isn't it, Janet? Again, really throwing a lot of water at this because I want it to have variety in it. I want it to be different greens, not just one green. And I'm going to just join it up to the stem like that. And then I'm going to go straight into my pure pigment here, straight into the pot. I'm just going to dot that in here, just create darkness, interest, and there where it joins the stem, just creating little bits of shadow and shade. I'm just popping in a bit of variety here as well. Maybe tip the ends with pigment, make things look interesting like that. And then I can't resist just going in there with the, scoring a line in there. One leaf, two leaves, what do we think? 2 leaves? Second leaf higher, second leaf lower? Second leaf higher, I think. You're no help, you lot. You see now this stalk, the water's oozed into the fibres of this paper now, and I can just drop in little bits of colour now, and look, it makes this beautiful patina
on this stem just by dropping in colour. Absolutely lovely. And you can create fabulous textures, and you can modify the value, and you can, you know, you're far more control over your painting when you've got good materials to work with.
Going in with the leaf.
I'm going in with you. Oh, you're going in with the leaf, Janet.
Yeah.
Good on you. Be bold.
Yeah. I've never seen it done like that. It's great.
I use different greens as well. Look at that. I've gone in with a bit of yellow on the end there. It's absolutely lovely.
Wow.
And again, this leaf at the top here that I've done, this guy's going to be in shade. This is in the basking in the shadow of this bloom, so this has got to go dark as well. I like that. Okay, excellent. Now, what I want to show you now is just how to knock down these negative shapes in here. So that's my first darker color in the negative shape area there. I want to put a second glaze over that. Now, I need to make that darker. So we all know how to make our colors darker, don't we? We add the complementary color. Now, the complementary color to this magenta is going to be over in the green department, isn't it? The complementary color to red is green. So I'm going to take some of the greens that I've just done my leaves with, and I'm going to add it to my red here. Okay, and hopefully, well, it's not hopefully, that is going to turn that much, much darker. Watch this. So there's my green. That's the green that I've just made my leaves with. As soon as I add it to this, look at that, bang, straight down to a lovely kind of deep maroon color. I just have a look at that on my scrapper. Look at that, fabulous. Kind of a plum color that is. And I'm going to use that to add to my negative shapes. It's going to be a deeper, more distant area inside this flower that is receiving less light. And I'm going to carry on painting these kind of diamond leaf shapes. I'm going to put another layer on top of this. This is going to be dry, this first layer.
actually painting negative shapes onto the negative shapes here. You see that bit there, that's a petal that's lower than this petal. Now I'm painting. I'm creating a lower depth of interest here. Can you see that's created a petal behind that petal? To get into these little nooks and crannies behind these, between these petals as well. So it makes these stand out even more. It is critical though that you do this on top of a dry surface. If I was painting this, if my first layer of negative shape was still wet, I wouldn't get these crisp edges. They'd soften off and it wouldn't have the same effect. Okay. So can you see how this is now starting to give this whole sphere an interior? You're starting to read this as shadow. And of course, when this is dry, I'd want to put a further, even darker layer on. Just a few little spots, a few little angles here and there, almost black, that'll just show that right in the depths and the recesses of here, there are little places where no light's reaching at all. A burst of paint stripper, dry it off and get those in before we go. Now, if I want to make a really, really intense dark colour, I would be using this heavily pigmented bit of red that I've got here. I'll just make a special little puddle of it there. It's really, really thick, full concentration of that red. And I'd pull out a similar concentration of the green there and mix those two together. And that is going to make a very, very dark, very, very strong mix. And I'd use that. I might need a peck more water. And I'd use that just to pick out here and there just some really, really dark depths recessed away in the center of here. Just the spaces between petals. Three levels of value, three values in my negative space. I've got my first dark red, my second even darker red, and finally this almost black, which is giving me a full effect of depth in there. Can you see that? You can't really. I can try a little bit lighter. Just about done.
Who's got a police car?
I've got quite a busy road at the top of my road, and I can hear them going up and down.
Yeah. Relay.
Oh, it's rough and pool, isn't it?
The lovely sky out here. Can I just show you?
Yeah.
Sorry, just to turn you around. I don't know if I can turn you around.
You've disappeared, Janet. Have you pulled the socket out?
No. I'll just take it off soon. Ignore me for a minute.
All right.
Don't get in there.
We're all on the edge of our seats.
I know. Look, can you see it?
I can see your garden.
Where are you? Oh,
I can
yeah.
see a white van. I can see two. Oh yeah, no, that looks nice. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Right.
There's enough to make an entire
Yeah.
sailor's trouser up there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know, my mum always used to say that, and I never heard anyone else say it till now.
I thought that meant there was just a tiny patch of blue.
Well, there was, but it's bigger now. Not
Yes.
Oh, the hounds are out. Right, I'm going to call that finished.
Well, that's lovely.
Now look,
Okay.
let's have a look at this one I've done. I think if I were to go back and fiddle with this, I'd be tempted to put some interest in these flowers. These petals are looking a bit bland. Now, I could either go in with my brush and do some little filaments coming out from the center. And I think what I did last time, if we go back and look at this last one I did, I drew on these with pencil.
Ah.
There's coloured pencil on there, which is allowed, you're allowed to do that. Although I think I might have preferred
it might have been better if I'd have tried it with a brush. I don't know. They look a bit jarry.
All right, they're lovely.
Yeah, maybe. But
It's a new flower.
sorry.
I'm going to take this to the garden centre and ask if I can have these.
If you can what?
I'm going to take my picture to the garden centre.
Yeah.
So sell these.
You want to? Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I would be tempted to maybe put a bit more detail in here because they're looking a bit empty. But I love this shaded leaf here. I think that looks really nice.
Yes, I like that. Yeah.
And what we haven't done, we haven't really observed the light coming from the top left. If we want to, we can go over and we can glaze a bit more value into that underside there, but I don't think we need to. I think it's just a graphic solution to a photographic problem, and I'm hoping you've all got something that you're really pleased with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Smashing. Thank you.
Good. All right, well, on that bombshell then, I'm going to let you go off for your lunches.
Yes.
It's been a really nice couple of hours. I've really
Yes,
enjoyed
thank
that.
you.
Martin, thank you.
It's been a
The
pleasure.
same. All right, thank you very much. See you next week.
Yeah, I'll see. Oh, hang on. Before you go, let me just get that out of the way and say goodbye properly. Yeah. So, thank you all for being here, and I will see you all, if not before, same time, same place,
Next
same
week.
channel.
Yes, same channel.
See you next week.
Thank you.
All right, everybody.
Bye.
Have a great weekend. See you next week.
Bye-bye.
Ta-ra. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.